This meeting is now being called to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, very good. Welcome to everyone to our board meeting this month. It's great to see so many people out there with us, so many patrons and students here tonight. I'm going to ask from my fellow board members if we can go on ahead and get an adoption of the agenda for this evening. Very good. I have a motion and a second. Board members, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And all those opposed, same sign. All right, very good. We have our agenda adopted. Let me get myself here real quick, pulled up here. All right, at this time, we're going to go into our superintendent's report.
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, board members, and welcome to the audience. Tonight, we will have our board priorities update, but in a little bit of a modified fashion. You'll notice here at the dais that Drs. Collier and Sharp are not with us. They are attending the AVID conference in Chicago. And that's important as we're in the second year primarily of AVID implementation at our high school levels. And I had an opportunity to engage with some of the kids in that program, and it looks like it's beginning to pay dividends. So that's exciting. But with that being said, the priority update will only consist tonight of an update of priorities 2 and 3. And we will hold the update for priority 1 until next month, if that meets the board with approval. Let's get started. Priority 2, we have Emily Miller over here. Give it up for Dr. Miller.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak and provide an update this evening. Just as a recap, this is board priority 2, and this is work that we actually began in the last school year and continued forward to this school year, providing more specificity into the work that we'll be doing. We are breaking the work up into 2 specific phases. Phase 1 will be short-term work that we hope to have recommendations by the end of first semester, and Phase 2 work will look at more long-range plans in the next 5 to 10 years, which we hope to have wrapped up and recommendations to you by the end of second semester. To date, this first quarter, we have been very busy with our comprehensive master facility planning work. We have a CFMP team that resumed meeting beginning back in August. This is a team of approximately 33 members, parents, patrons, representatives from UCM, representatives from the city, and they have been very, very committed to doing the work and serving our students. They've dedicated several hours thus far. Each of these dates on the calendar represent at least 2 to 3 hour meetings, so they're very committed to coming up with good solutions for our students moving forward. The second bullet, DLR, is one of our consultants. They're an architect firm, so they've gone out along with Gould Evans and visited each of our school sites to listen to our principals and really get a better understanding of school utilization. So they, again, moving into Phase 2 work, how can they best support forward future-ready learning? We've had several meetings with principals. We met starting back in July, another meeting in September, in October, and we also met again with our principals today. We've had weekly calls with DLR, Gould Evans, and Link Strategic Partners in the planning of the work. And then we've also had 2 of our 3 planned community engagement series. Community Engagement Series 1, we had over 500 members of the community come out and participate in the work and listen to where we are as a district, as well as ask some critical questions. Community Engagement Series 2, we had a slightly different format where we presented some rough proposals, and we really got some great constructive feedback from the community, which is going to guide our work heading into Community Engagement Series number 3. We've had 2 surveys that have gone out to the community. Again, we're continuing to get good constructive feedback. Our first survey, I believe we had close to 4,700 responses. The most recent survey, we had 2,000 responses. And when you're looking at surveys, That is a great response from our community. So we're really appreciative of all the engagement that we've had so far. So looking forward, we have several CFMP team meetings as we head into our third and final community engagement series. Those dates have been adjusted and changed. They've moved to November 27th through the 29th. Rough release of recommendations to the public will be November 19th to give people plenty of time over the Thanksgiving holiday to review those recommendations prior to the final community engagement series. We are going to have a proposed board, work session. We know that that date is inaccurate. We'll have to revise that date, and we'll come back with another date for you. And again, the proposed recommendations will come to you ideally on December 13th, that board meeting. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Wachel.
Are there any questions for Dr. Miller?
Dr. Miller, I know that you all have undertaken a great effort to assimilate all the various comments and that sort of thing. Could you give us just kind of a sense of the order of magnitude of how many we've had that have flown in? Just, I know you guys answered questions on the first rounding. Kelly may be able to help you out on that. I don't want to just kind of hit you upside the head with a number off the top of your head.
188 comment cards that we responded to, and then do you want to answer how many individual emails we've had from the community?
So there are a multitude of ways that we're gathering feedback, right, between our 2 online surveys that Dr. Miller mentioned with approximately 7,000 people responding to those. We had our 288 comment cards at our first engagement series. Our Post-it note feedback from the second engagement series getting ready to be posted is actually posted online this evening. And there's probably, I want to say, over 100 pages of Post-it notes stacked together with feedback from the second engagement series. Also, those online feedback forms that were available for each potential option on the website, those garnered almost 300 individual comments about those potential options, and they're in an Excel format that our CFMP team's going through right now. Emily, what you mentioned, the 288 comment cards. We are looking at the rollout of Survey 3, which potentially is a thought exchange. Our second online survey is also released tonight on the website that you can go look at the results from that. So, I mean, in all, if we're going to put a number to it, the emails that we've received directly to the CFMP webpage are over 100 at this point, 150. The ones that the board gets individually too, those get logged in our feedback form as well. So not only do they come to you or to Emily or I, they get combined in that overall feedback from our CFMP website logging form. So if we're going to put a number to, 10,000, 15,000, we're getting thousands of individual comments from a broad swath of our community.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Mr. Murdoch, I believe you have a question.
Yeah, I do. Real quick, just on the timeline there. Since I know that the December 6th may not work, obviously, for a board work session, based on the amount of time it's taking to get community feedback tabulated and then put back into the process, obviously, is there a backup plan to the December 13th date if we're not able to have a work session and still have the appropriate discussion before a proposal gets done? Meaning, essentially, if it was brought to us in January, is that still enough time for a decision to be made and implemented to not impact all of the different activities and stuff that would be going on for kids that might have to change?
And I appreciate that question. I believe we would have enough room to make that allowance if the board felt that was appropriate to move that decision back to January.
Are there any other questions from fellow board members tonight? Okay, Dr. Miller, Kelly Wachel, thank you so much for that.
Priority two, Kelly.
Priority 3.
3, I'm sorry.
Let's move to Priority 3. So this is the Priority 3 that the board set forth over the summer, talking about intertechnical public relations and engagement. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I'm going to review kind of the past couple months of the quarter that we're going to go over with the communication efforts from our office. One of the things that we're really proud of is the first day of school video that we released on the first day of school that had almost 40,000 people view and engage with. Our On the Pulse of Morning video that we had a student from every school participate in. That was a really popular social media post for us. We're looking at KCPT, the School of the Future series. Our second series featuring STA is coming out in the next week or so that we'll publicize through KCPT and their Take Note programming. So when we're talking about R7 Future Ready, we already have some model schools that are modeling the Future Ready concept right here in our school district, and KCPT is doing a great job chronicling that for us. You see our Crimson Cafe on Channel 41. Dr. Meisenheimer just announced the kids here this evening. They're going to also be recognized, so excited to have some coverage about that. The first day of school, Dr. Carpenter visiting a bunch of schools and having Fox 4 join us for live feeds that day. Really fun event for our kids to highlight and for our families. Priority 3 also talks about CFMP. Dr. Miller and I just gave you a little bit of information about this, but this slide shows a myriad of channels and avenues that we're using to communicate about the CFMP process. From our background information to our online community surveys, Dr. Carpenter's internal video messages to our staff. The lower left-hand corner is the video that our students did, a town hall style video that our middle school and high school and even elementary kids came and talked about how they felt about R7 Future Ready and what the future of schools should look like for them. So using students to help tell our story of what the future of Lee Summit Schools should look like and feel like. And of course our CFMP website in the lower right-hand corner, which is acting as a really great repository for all the information and communication that we're using through our CFMP process. Dr. Carpenter's blog, this is an opportunity for him to speak directly with our public, an avenue for his thoughts and feelings to get communicated. And this goes through the blog, social media, our schools, e-news, a myriad of ways that we distribute the information that he shares in his blog. I'm really excited about some of the refresh that we've done for our messenger, which is our internal employee newsletter, as well as our e-news update, which goes to our larger community, about 22,000 people. We're also adding the League of Visionary Educators. I saw some of the League here this evening. Dr. Carpenter's new teacher advisory group, which is going really well, and have had a really great chance to hear their opinions and their perspectives, and really excited about the future and the vision for the League. And the Student Advisory Council starts next week. Dr. Carpenter has a group of students coming in to advise and counsel him on their perceptions and thoughts of the district and use them to drive messaging and how we think about what student voice means for us here in LSR7. I'm going really quickly. The next one, our schools, our first edition of Our Schools, which is our community newsletter that goes to every household in the district, came out a few weeks ago, and working on actually our second edition for the next couple weeks, but you'll see the variety of topics that we have in here, from plan for performance, the instructional compass, national merits, teacher profiles, and all of those stories. The cover of this, we refreshed the Our Schools banner, as you can see, and then we included a picture of every school on the cover for this edition, talking about their messages and what kids see when they enter school or when they're in their hallways, and what messages do we send our kids every day. The board on Fridays receives an update from the PR office that looks at key messaging, open rates, visitors to our website, and we kind of go up and down based upon the weekly flow of what our information released to the public is. So you'll see our top posts of the week, you'll see engagement as compared to the previous week, you'll see our rate of opening and how much is aligned to our key messaging through all of the priorities that we have at the Board of Education. This is a little bit more breakout of that board report that you receive every Friday. On the left, you can see the 5 key messaging aspects that we look at on a weekly basis. And then we tie those key messages to all of our external media and in other newspapers or TV, other websites. You'll see those get aligned to our key messaging as it relates to what's produced externally. And then just next steps, you approved Thought Exchange earlier in the semester, and we're using those for internal purposes, as well as we'll be using it for our third round of CFMP engagement series coming up here in November, and then looking at the initiation of a communications audit process this month. That's my last thing.
Okay, very, very good. Mr. Murdoch, you have a question again.
Hey, I'm just sorry. Have we thought about giving the high school journalism students an opportunity to put something into the Our Schools newsletter to allow them to spotlight their journalism skills and stuff like that. I feel like in today's climate,
Great idea.
journalism, it would be something awesome to showcase. Good journalism, right?
It's a fantastic idea, and
I second that.
it's a fantastic idea. So we recycle a lot of our content for our schools just to reinforce to the larger community some of our same messages that we use throughout our e-news and our messenger and our social media platforms. But I love that idea, and let me knock on the principal's doors and see if I can get that accomplished.
Yeah, I see one of them here. All right, any other questions from my fellow board members? I do believe I have another one down there. Ms. Doan?
Could we have all the League of Visionary Educators stand up that are in the room? I think that's really pretty cool. They went through a very great process, so very cool. Thank you all for that extra work.
That's a great point. And then Ms. Stone will actually, in December, I think, according to our plans, have our students and Student Advisory Committee come and visit with you as a board. And one of our first projects, Dr. Carpenter, is to look at logoing and branding for that group, and then maybe have them present their logo and brand to you in December. So you'll get to see them too.
Excellent, thank you. I believe Vice President Clark wants to make a comment.
I just want to say congratulations to you for getting all 18 schools on the front page. Let's just say over the years, we've heard that maybe there's a lot of attention to some and not all. And we want to try to showcase how wonderful all of those schools are.
Inclusive, right? Make sure that we show everybody. Good. Thank you.
Very good. Are there any other comments, questions? All right. Kelly, thank you so much. Great job. Great presentation tonight over our board updates, board priorities. Okay, we're going to move into what is sometimes our most favorite part of our program. It's our presentations. We do have some tonight, and as we enter into those, I'm going to enlist the help of my fellow board members. Mr. Murdoch, I would like you to read 3.01, if you wouldn't mind, and then Ms. Fritchie, 3.02, Mr. White, 3.03, and Ms. Doan, 3.04, and Mr. Smith, 3.05, if you wouldn't mind. That would be great. Get y'all involved tonight. Thank you. So we're going to start with Mr. Murdoch. He's going to read about 3.01. That is lights on after school.
Absolutely. So on October 25th, we're going to be, or let me rephrase, today, we will be celebrating the Lights On After School, recognizing the importance of quality after-school programs and our outstanding before and after-school services, or our BASS staff members. R7 BASS provides our families with tremendous benefits. Not only do children have a safe and caring environment within the KC Cubbies, Kids Country, and the Three Links and Summit Rise, our BASS programs promote academic, social, emotional, and physical development. There is growing evidence throughout the nation that children and youth who attend quality after-school programs do better in school while developing new skills and interests. This year, we were also pleased to decrease our BASS rates in terms of what was being charged. Christy Fate, before and after-school care assistant director, is representing the staff here tonight, I believe.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call Christy up. Come on up.
Come on up. The BASS program is fantastic. See, and now I'm totally off script, but it's absolutely fantastic, and we have a ton of kids, obviously, who participate in it. So thank you all for everything that you do.
Very nice. Excellent. We're going to move on to item 2.02. That is National School Lunch Week, and Miss Fritchie will be reading that. Mrs. Fritchie.
Yes, I will. And I just wanted to say that my two grandsons love their before and after school program. They absolutely love it. Okay, 3.02 National School Lunch Week. National School Lunch Week is October 15th through the 19th, and it gives us the perfect opportunity to thank our valuable Nutrition Services Department. Within our schools, nutrition services provides close to 3 million meals each year. On a daily basis, our school cafeterias serve meals that appeal to our students while also meeting strict federal guidelines. Thanks to our nutrition services staff members and our students who regularly meet with the team to advise on our nutrition program. Jane Hensler, Director of Nutrition Services, Lori Danella, Assistant Director of Nutrition Services, Donita Zer, Assistant Director of Nutrition Services, and Chris Maben, Coordinator of Nutrition Services Technology, will represent our Nutrition Services Department. Please come on up.
Thank you. Our next item is National School Bus Safety Week. National School Bus Safety Week is October 22nd through 26th this school year, and it is an excellent time for us to express our gratitude to the R7 Transportation Department team members. R7 Transportation transports more than 13,000 students daily and provides our students with a positive start and conclusion to the school day. Our Transportation Department employees work closely with parents and schools, partnering to create a safe and caring learning environment while also teaching students important rules related to staying safe on the bus and at bus stops. Representing the Transportation Department will be the Transportation Site Team. Rudy Rhodes, Chairperson, Nita Sosko, Co-Chair, Mike Sasher, Treasurer, Christine Riley, Veronica Myers, Trina Bragshaw, Paul Sider, Felix Hernandez, Paula White, Jamie Fletcher, Dan Gard, Doug Knipp, James Brown, Eric Slaver, and Daisy Telowitz. We're very proud of our transportation team as they have consistently received an inspection rating in the high 90s. However, they received 100% inspection reports the last 2 years. Additionally, we are always looking for quality drivers to support our R7 students and families.
Where's Trina? Special shout out to Miss Trina.
And the other thing that the board might not know about this team is they know how to throw a party too. Last week was open house for all the families of our transportation team, hamburgers and hot dogs. The kids got to ride buses, we got to learn about the kids' buses. It was one big party. I appreciate you guys today.
Photo bomb. Photo bomb. I better turn off.
Dr. Carpenter, I think we need to give a shout out to Transportation for having the largest faculty team at the Race for the Future, too. They did an awesome job. Thank you, Transportation.
Thank you, Rudy. I think Mr. Henry can correct me if I'm wrong, but that inspection is done by the Highway Patrol, and they're not easy. They will pick apart every single thing. If you've got a fuse that's out of whack, well, to get 100% 2 years in a row is an achievement. So congratulations to your whole department.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to take over now because I'm staying on task.
Go, girl.
All right. Jocelyn gave me a cute little rubber band. So very cool. It's I am noticed. And Mrs. Jennifer Keevan from Trail Ridge Elementary will introduce students and staff to share information about the I Am Noticed program.
I have some very important people to introduce you to. These are a part of our peer models for the I Am Noticed program at our school. And they work really hard to ensure that kids are working hard on student well-being. And you'll see a little bit more about that. We have a video to share with you, but I thought they might want to tell you their names.
I am Ryland. I'm Lauren. I'm Jocelyn.
I'm Aiden.
I am Morgan. I'm Isabella.
We also have their school coach here, Daniel Shearer. Can you wave to everyone, Mr. Shearer? He works with them on a regular basis. And we have the creators of I Am Noticed also here. Over, ladies, will you wave? We have Jamie and Amy, who are the creators of I Am Noticed, and also the creators of the video that we have to show you.
Great about I Am Noticed is that it kind of underscored that every child can be noticed and every child needs that time to feel special. So it kicked off a project that I took about 4 months of our classroom time to select students in different ways. There were 24 students in my class, so I had to come up with 24 different ways for them to find out that they were chosen for the day. And then we celebrated them, and the total focus and attention was on that one student so that they heard how they were noticed, saw through the eyes of their peers and their teacher all of the great skills and attributes that they have. So it was a way to just sit and take that in, which is, it's just a real chance to recenter our community one by one and really walk out of there feeling like every child is noticed for who they are and for what they bring to the team.
I'd like to thank you for being a great teacher this year. And I think you're courageous because you have been a teacher here for only a year, and you've also put up with us the whole year. That's a good one. Mr. Shearer, you're very sprightly because you're always very cheerful.
Thank you, Macy. I appreciate that.
Because we like to joke about KU and burgers and recess modes.
We do. We have lots of laughter. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate that.
That's okay, but being chosen felt really awesome. It felt real, like it took a bunch of courage and responsibility to stand up there and not act all crazy and do everything that's not supposed to. You have to be positive to be a good student with other people. You have to be kind so that you can get more friends. You have to be a great reader so you can get your grades up in reading. And you have to be honest so then you don't get consequences.
My name is Macy Kennicott, and being noticed felt really good because it made me feel really special, and they all said these really nice things about me, and it made my day, and my heart warmed up.
And we just have to thank them for rippling goodness throughout our school. Thank you.
And while we are shaking the hands of these wonderful students, if you are a parent, grandparent, relative to any of these children, would you please stand up? We'd like to thank you for being with us tonight. Where are all of our parents that are here tonight? Yay. Good job, parents. Hi, cutie patootie. Hi there. Great job, Miss Kevern, on the work that you're doing with the students. I'm most impressed with the fact that they're learning their social skills and coming by and shaking our hands. It's really great. There's so much that is taught beyond skills in the schools, and I thank you very much for your efforts and hard work with the kids.
President Bologna, I would like to recognize the founders of the I Am Noticed Network. They do a superb job. They came to me early in my tenure, and they talked about this simple premise. And I'm a fan of simple because sometimes I believe less is more. And they talked about the impact that they could have across the district, and we're now starting to see that in our elementary schools. Thank you, ladies, a lot. We appreciate it.
Yes, very good. Thank you. All right, and our fifth and final presentation this evening, I'm going to turn it down to Mr. Smith down there. Go on ahead and go with it there.
With great privilege, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Jeff Meisenheimer, principal at Lee Summit North High School. And he's going to be introducing the students and staff of the Crimson Cafe.
The Crimson Cafe, yes. So I've been an administrator for 19 years, and I am most proud of this program. This is one of the coolest things that we have done for kids, for our life skills kids, our special ed kids, and our reg ed kids. This has just been a culture changer for Lee Summit North. And it's been featured on Channel 41. The kids that come to school, they go and get some coffee or hot chocolate, and they interact with our kids. And it's just, it's been wonderful. It's been a collaboration between myself, one of our parents who's sitting up here on the front row, helped me to kind of get the idea and get this thing going. Our teachers, our art department, our DECA program, our facilities program, our special ed program over here at SLC. So a lot of people involved in transforming a high traffic area that was an art gallery into the Crimson Cafe run by our life skills. But none of that's possible without great teachers and support from them. And so I want to bring them up. I want to introduce them and some of the kids that helped serve some of you some coffee or hot tea, hot cocoa this evening. Kathy, are you going? Okay, you're gonna get Alex. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Beechner, and she is here with Miss Green and Miss Sand back here, and Marielle and Alex, two students are representing many of our life skills students that worked in this wonderful cafe. So, Ms. Beechner.
Thank you. We are so excited today to present to you guys about the Crimson Cafe. This is something that we are super passionate about, and we're so excited to give our students this opportunity. So how we got started. So we started out last year as just kind of a simple cart. We got orders each week from staff, and then in the mornings we would deliver coffee, tea, or hot chocolate to them, depending on their order. And then kind of from there, we kind of grew pretty rapidly with the help of Dr. Meisenheimer, Lori Folk, one of our parents, who's been super supportive in helping us, as well as facilities and the Lsr7 district. We were able to find a place within our school to kind of facilitate a home for the Crimson Cafe.
So in order to transform that space, we had a lot of collaboration between different groups. We wrote a PEAK grant and were awarded that from the Lee Summit Educational Foundation, and used that grant to help get supplies for the cafe, such as the coffee machines and the sinks and the renovations for all of the cabinetry and everything in there. And we've also have partnered with Starbucks, who has graciously donated coffee to us for the past year. And then we are also starting to partner with Post Coffee, who is going to start donating coffee grounds to us as well, and also providing extra opportunities for our students to go over and work with them in their space and learn extra customer service skills over there as well.
So here's some of the students working in the Crimson Cafe, and they're serving the product there. And then they deliver the product to the customer.
So like Dr. Meisenheimer mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of partnerships within our building. So we partner with the DECA department in order to help us with our finances. That's something that I think that none of us were truly prepared for, starting a small business within our school. So they've been a really great partner in helping us to stay on top of the finances and the inventory and ordering. And kind of we hope to eventually have our students start to help with that kind of as we learn more about the process and about the program. We also have partnered with the art department. So it was previously a gallery. So we wanted to stick with that integrity of the space, and we continue to display students' art. And we hope that by having the space to be a little bit more interactive, that students are able to interact more with the artwork and see the art displayed.
And then just some future goals that we have for this program. We would really like our students to be able to be very independent in this space and kind of run it with minimal adult support. And we would also like to get a store manager to start incorporating some of the business students in there as well, to kind of have them take over majority of the ordering and the bookkeeping. We'd like to continue our collaboration with as many departments in the building as possible, because this is such a great opportunity for the entire school. And then just continue fostering relationships and continue the learning for all students that have been involved in this project.
And again, thank you to the district. It's been so valuable for us to be able to use Lee Summit Educational Foundation for that PEAK grant in order for this opportunity to happen. And we just want to continue to work on that post-secondary success for every student within our building.
All right, let's give them a round of applause.
Very nice job, Dr. Meisenheimer. Thank you for your support of these kids. Very nice, Ms. Beechner and students. The hot chocolate was wonderful. I believe Mrs. Fritchie has a comment she'd like to make.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, out in the audience, how many of you have had a chance to stop by Lee Summit North and go to the Crimson Cafe? Over here, several of you. I would highly encourage that if you have a chance. You have to know their hours. Would you all tell us what your hours are?
We open around 7:05, 7:15. There'll be a line of students there, and my daughter's typically one of the first ones in line. I had to tell her we can't spend $1 every day. We had to do a little math, and see how much that adds up to on her checkbook.
It's still cheaper than Starbucks, though, Dr. Meisenheimer.
I know. Well, she tells me the same thing. So she says if you'd stop at Starbucks, I wouldn't have to do this. But no, but there's a big line out there. And then during Bronco time, they open back up, and that's on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from about 10:05 to about 10:40. So, and again, big line waiting to get their coffee, their hot chocolate, and their tea. So
I just wanted to say that I was there I think it was the first week you were open, and I got to come in and go to the Crimson Cafe and order my coffee, and I was just so impressed with how this whole operation was put together, that collaborative spirit, and the student was bringing up my purchase. One student filled my order, another student rang up my purchase with the teacher sitting right there beside her. And she was learning her math skills while she was doing this. And so the whole thought process of how you add and that kind of thing, and then communication skills that are being used for that too. So this was a wonderful life skill and a learning experience for our kids. And I just applaud you guys for applying for that Peak grant and for having that vision. Thank you.
Yes, I believe we've got several comments up here. Thank you, Mrs. Fritchie. I'd like to move down to Mrs. Doan has a comment here. All righty, and we have Vice President Clark.
Ms. Beechner, would you come forward, please? I want to thank you for our refreshment, and I want to spot the first 20 kids tomorrow morning.
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet.
Well, there's a challenge here, board members. All right. Now, Ms. Beechner, you can really capitalize on that if you set that all the board members say need to spot the students. I know, but I want to say that sitting behind us is our mission here in the district. And this is another example of the great work that our educators and our staff members are doing to prepare our students for success in life. And what you're doing with them is profound and will live on forever with them. And again, I just want to give you guys a big round of applause. Dr. Meisenheimer and your whole team there. Give them a hand. Very good. Oops, I forgot Mr. Smith down there. Oh, go ahead. All right, I'm doing it too. I got a 20 also. Here it is.
We need to announce
the whole school coffee.
60 now. Do I hear 80? Do I hear 80? Do I hear 80? 100, right? Do I hear 100? Do I hear 100?
Okay, now I look bad, but I'm the younger generation who doesn't carry cash. So.
Credit card is
okay. Oh, Bob spotted me, so now I owe Bob. There you go. All right.
That was fun. Jackie Clark, see what you started, and that turned out to be a great benefit to the students.
I assume that's going up on Twitter for the kids. They know
yes.
that they get freebies tomorrow morning.
Okay, so now you see why we look forward to the presentations, because it's all about our students. It's all about our students. That's why I bet you if you asked every one of us board members up here why we are sitting here and donating our time, it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. Thank you so much again. We're going to move on into our comments from the public section. There's a few things that I'd like to share with everyone before we have our first speaker. I see that he is just about ready, but I'm going to make a few comments first, okay? Our agenda for each regular meeting of the Board of Education will include a designated time for comments from the public. The purpose of this item is to permit members of the public to speak within time limitations on matters pertaining to the district. The Board of Education may also elect to offer a time for comments from the public during board workshops as well. Citizens desiring to address the board during comments from the public will advise the superintendent or the president of the board prior to the starting time of the meeting. And Linda Ismer is that person that has been advising us of this. The request will be made in writing on a form. provided by the district will include the name, address, telephone number of the speaker, name of organization represented, and a brief description of the topic to be addressed. A time allocation not to exceed 20 minutes of the total speaking time, but I will tell you, folks, that if you have something to say, we're not going to cut you off, except we're going to cut you off if you get longer than 3 minutes, right, Ms. Dr. Gates? Speakers will be advised that comments must be limited to matters pertaining to the district. The board president, that's moi, will have the authority to discontinue any presentation which violates any of the public participation guidelines. Board members, we've heard comments in the past, and I'm going to urge that each of us up here sit, listen intently to our patrons, and I really would like for us to refrain from making any comment. I'd like to wish them the opportunity to speak, and we will thank them. So now, up on first for us is someone that I've known for a very long time. He was my advising principal when I taught at Lee Summit High School. This is Mr. Jim Tosser, and Jim, it's yours.
Thank you very much. I'd like to propose donating 1 year of my time to the Board of Education with the sole emphasis of helping the district raise their test scores for the following year. This comes with a lot of thought and prayer that I was unable to do this last year because of family commitment. On my card, it says EMT, Empowering Minds for Tomorrow. And after I left the Lee Summit School District, I went back and taught for 12 years. And during those 12 years, 6 of them were in elementary education, and 6 of them were at Summit Ridge Academy. And for the patrons, Summit Ridge Academy is our alternative high school here in the district. That's a place where a lot of kids that usually don't make it to high school level end up going. So, and Mr. White was in charge of the at-risk program at Lee Summit High School when I was there. So, having sent kids there and having taught there, I have experienced both ends. So, what I'm proposing, if the district will allow me to be a part of the district, is to work with the district at looking at their test scores hand in hand, and if only one teacher wants to work with me next year, or one building, or anyone, I would be happy to work with that teacher, building, principal, or whoever would like to work with me to help them raise not only the students' learning, but their test scores. My background through the building, you can check that out when I was through the Lee Summit High School. I took classes with the Kaufman Foundation after I left here, and database dissemination, math tutoring, and I really didn't learn what teaching was all about until I got out. And all of us up here had superstars. But how do you take and work with a teacher that isn't a superstar? How do you raise that educational experience for every student in that classroom? And I took a look at the test scores for our Lee Summit School District before I came over here today. And they're not online for the 2018. They haven't been posted yet. But I would like to offer my professionalism for any teacher. There may be a snag with the, since I would be working for free, I'd be willing to work for $1 a day. That's what my dad worked for back in the 1936 during the Depression. So I'd be willing to work for $1 a day plus lunch. So any building, if there's an elementary principal out there, that's where I think the most gain can be made. I'd be willing to work with you. I'm a team player. I just want results. I want what is best interest in the child. I want what's best interest for our school district. I've lived here since 1980. I have 41 years out here invested into the community, and I'm willing to give back my time, energy back to the community for basically free. So that's my pitch back to the board. I hope I hear back from you. Is there any questions from the board?
Well, I'll tell you what, at this time, we appreciate you did give each one of us a handout with a letter, and we appreciate it, and we'll keep it with us.
Could I ask offer one other thing? My logo shows a rocket ship blasting off.
Okay.
The reason it shows a rocket ship blasting off, that shows the perspective of the students that are on board and the students that are being left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we have students that are being left behind. My area is mathematics. I can't speak for language, art, science, and anything else. I was absent today. They taught those classes.
Mm-hmm.
But mathematics is my area. We have children that aren't on that rocket ship right now. And I want to help them get on that ship, just like Bob did at Progress, just like we do at Summit Ridge.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tosser. We appreciate you being with us tonight. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, I'm going to call LaShawn Walker. She is representing Suburban Balance. She's here this evening to discuss with us or to present to us achievement gap. So it is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Carpenter, school board members, administrators, and parents. My name is LaShawn Walker, and I'm standing here tonight on the behalf of the 250 families involved in the nonprofit organization that I founded 6 years ago called Suburban Balance. The families that we serve are families of color who are raising their kids in suburban school districts, and many of them are here tonight. The mission of our organization is to provide educational and cultural activities and opportunities to suburban kids of color to help ensure that they experience a well-balanced life while growing up in their suburban communities or in schools that lack diversity. So education is at the core of our mission, and it is and has always been the top priority for families, and many of them have students who attend in the Lee Summit School District. We are very concerned about the data that we all recently learned about regarding the significant achievement gap numbers, and we refuse to sit idle. Our kids are counting on us to advocate for them. They are counting on the school board to do the right thing. Equity is the right thing to do. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The time is always right to do the right thing." Well, this is one of those times. We must address these achievement gap numbers and support the recommendations of the executive leadership team. We urge your board to take necessary steps to address the achievement gap. We cannot afford to allow the school board to just walk away from this important issue and just drop the conversation. Families are calling for action. The data has been disclosed, and now is the time to act. I understand, and so does many of our families here tonight, understand that this is a multi-layered issue that involves all hands on deck, starting with us, the parents. So we are willing to work with the school district as parents to begin the crucial work of ensuring all students are prepared for success. We must talk through these issues. They're important issues and conversations that come up, and we have to come up with some solutions. Our parents are calling for action and we will not be able to rest until we see steps taken with our tax dollars to invest in all children so that each individual student is treated accordingly to his or her needs. Here we have an amazing, passionate executive team who wants to help all children. Let's allow them that opportunity. Equity is the right thing to do, and the time is now. Sure, it might be a difficult mountain to climb to close these gaps, but we know that it's been done effectively in other school districts that have similar demographics as Lee Summit who are realizing the need. We all can come together as a community. We can climb this difficult mountain together. We urge you to support the recommendation, plans, and initiatives of the executive team. Let's get to the bottom of these achievement gap numbers before they get worse. Let's not look back on this moment in history and regret it. Let's seize this moment right now. Let's get down to the difficult work of addressing these numbers. All of our kids are counting on us to do the right thing to prepare them for success. Let's make the equity conversations a top priority. This is the right thing to do, and the time is now. Thank you.
LaShawn, thank you for being with us this evening. Thank you. We're going to move on to speaker number 3 on the agenda. This is Alethea Rollins. Come on up, Alethea. She is here as an African American of Lee Summit, and she's going to be speaking on equity. It's yours now.
I'm Alethea Rollins, and I'm standing as a representative of a private group of African American residents here in Lee Summit. And we have prepared a letter for the board that Lee is passing out. We have full copies of the letter, but I'm only going to read a portion of the letter since my time is quickly diminishing. We would like to take a moment to thank Dr. Carpenter, Chair Balagna, and staff for coming out to the equity forums that have been in our community, and we really appreciate you in entertaining us in those moments. Most recently, the one at New Springs Community Church this week, so we appreciate your support and involvement in that. This letter is written on behalf of African American students attending the Lee Summit R7 School District. However, the issues addressed impact every student in Lee Summit and the community at large. It is our intention to give voice to the minority and to ensure every child has equitable access to the rigorous and innovative educational opportunities available in Lsr7. The Board of Education recently reviewed student data, which was subsequently made available to the public. The presentation started with review of findings from the 2016 Academic Systems Review, and the reviewers found alarming disparities in the Lsr7 school district, which I've included in the letter. The data presented and the reports from DESE mirror those findings, and as we all know, there is a significant achievement gap which disproportionately impacts our African American students. African American children are not receiving equitable educational opportunities in Lsr7. They face institutional bias and prejudice. They are frequently confronted with discrimination, racism, and sexism. These experiences negatively impact children's well-being, academic achievement, and self-concept. Specific actions must be taken to thwart these disparities. Lsr7 was scheduled to consult with Glenn Singleton. This consultation was meant to be a strategic planning session to help the board identify specific steps to begin addressing the previously documented inequities. A group of community members did not agree with Mr. Singleton's ideologies and put pressure on the board to cancel this consultation. Given Mr. Singleton's expertise, recommendations from DESE, and his international reputation, this was an embarrassing and unfortunate rush to judgment. We are not in support of any specific ideology or method. However, we do not want to see this issue brushed aside. Since the cancellation of this consultation, it appears the conversations about equity have stalled. This is unacceptable. We cannot address the achievement gaps without working to eliminate the inequities. The strength and continued success of LSR7 is dependent upon its deliberate and purposeful commitment toward providing a quality educational experience for all children. We are calling on the board, Dr. Carpenter, and the leadership team to identify and implement relevant equity training, review processes and programming to ensure opportunities for all children, look at IEP and discipline inequities and take steps towards implementing equitable practices, provide professional development for administrators, staff, and teachers to address unconscious bias, hire more diverse administrators and teachers, and to review the curriculum to ensure it is culturally sensitive, respectful, and relevant. We believe this is a pivotal moment in time. This work will be uncomfortable. It will push us all out of our comfort zones. However, if we do the work, our community will be better, stronger, and more inclusive for all children and all families in Lee Summit. Thank you.
Very nice, Alethea. Thank you very much for sharing that with us tonight. Okay, we're ready for speaker number 4. I'm going to call up to the podium Candace Weiss. Did I say that right? Okay, so Miss Candace says, saying ditto to all of the above. Okay, very nice. I am going to go to the 5th one. That is Beverly Hill. Is Beverly Hill here? Okay. Okay, it's all right. Okay, all right. So I believe I have as my next speaker J. Emil R. I'm so sorry, I can't hardly read this writing. James R. Is there a James R. here tonight? Okay. Let's move that off. And then next up is Eric Lowe. Is he here with us tonight? Yes, he is. And he is making his way up here. Hello, Eric. Nice to have you with us this evening. Go ahead and take your spot at the podium, and it is now yours.
Good evening, Dr. Carpenter, here, Bologna, and the rest of the board. My name is Eric Lowe. I moved to this district about 2 years ago from another part of the city, and I would share with you that I understand more than most the role of being a board member and the difficult position being a board member can place you in when you have an upset community dealing with you. But as a board member, and as you learn in MSBA training, your responsibility, first and foremost, is to the students of this district, not to parents, not to administrators, not to Dr. Carpenter. I would like the board to take a moment this evening and remember what your mission, your vision, and your commitments reflect. Your mission is to prepare each student for success in life. Your vision is to ensure that students are college and career ready with a competitive advantage. Your vision also includes ensuring that there is a focus in this district on student achievement, and that student learning is this district's fundamental purpose. You have committed yourselves to promoting continuous improvement through data-driven decision-making. The board has a role, and the board has one employee, and that is Dr. Carpenter. Dr. Carpenter's role is to ensure that the staff of this district at all levels is hired and carries out the direction and the goals of this board. In the Lee Summit School District, to point out a couple of grade levels that I think give a distinct understanding of how poor this district is serving African American students. And when you look at the data, not just African American students, other students of color, and even students who suffer from learning disabilities and other issues. When we compare data at the 5th grade level and reading and math, white students are achieving at 79.3% in reading and 58.3% in math, while black students are performing at 50.7% and 29.4%, a difference of 28.6 and 28.9 percentage points at each level. As we carry that forward and we get to the 7th grade level, we have white students in reading and math achieving at the 62nd percentile in reading and the 63rd.2 percentile in math, while you have black students achieving at 32.1% and 28.2% respectively, a 29.9 and 35% difference. At the 8th grade level, preparing students to go into high school, white students in reading are performing at the 70.4 percentile and proficient at advanced levels is what I'm reflecting, and in math at 41.7, while black students are performing at 40.1 and 24.2, a difference of 30.3 points and 17.5 points. And the important thing to note is there at the math at the 8th grade level, the difference isn't because black students are achieving better, it's that white students are achieving at a 30-point clip worse than they were at the level before. Finally, when we start looking at English 2, which was last assessed by DESE in 2016, you have white students scoring at the 93rd.4 percentile and proficient and advanced, and black students scoring at the 75.9 percentile, a difference of 17.5%. But let me give you a better way to look at this data. The better way isn't to analyze how many students are performing at the proficient and advanced level, but how many students are performing at below basic and basic level. For black students in 5th grade reading, you have 50.3% performing at basic or below basic, and 70.6% performing at basic or below basic in math. At the 7th grade level, you have 67.9% of black students scoring at the basic or below basic level in reading, and 71.8% of black students performing basic or below basic in math. And at the 8th grade level, 59.9% in reading scoring at the basic or below basic level, and 75.8% scoring in math at basic or below basic. What this data tells you as a board is that when you're looking at your students you're serving at the 5th, 7th, and 8th grade level who are black students, you as a district can't even say you are serving a majority of black students with a level of education that meets the basic standards by DESE of what constitutes proficient or advanced learning. That's a problem. As a constituent of this school district and as a parent, I implore you, I have no choice or no driven agenda in who you choose. What I would tell you is this data tells you more than anything, this is something you have to address. This district is getting more diverse, and sticking your head in the sand and pandering to parents who are upset, who don't want to deal with the real inequities that you see in your own data is problematic, not just for your district now, but because while this district cherishes scoring in the 99th and 98th percentile generally overall in APR score, that's going to start diminishing. You can't continue to ignore this and continue to see the overall scoring that you've seen. I would implore all of you to support the superintendent and the executive staff and allow them to do the jobs they were hired to do. They are here to ensure that every child is educated in this district. They see that there is a disparate problem here and are attempting very effectively to address that problem. And while board members, it is very difficult to tell your constituents that you have to do what's right by students, that's what your job is. And if they don't understand that, you can direct them to MSBA policy and to your own mission, vision, and commitment to help them understand that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lowe. Okay, we are going to pull up our final speaker tonight, and I think that is Courtney. Okay. Courtney, what's your last name, Courtney? Courtney Ray. Okay, this is Courtney Ray. She's also here as a parent, and she's going to be also speaking about equity and achievement gap.
Good evening, Dr. Carpenter and school board, parents, and community members. I was going to say ditto because a lot of the people have already said a lot that I was going to say. And so I have put my notes to the side, and I want to talk to you tonight just as a concerned parent. I recently, I'm a former employee from Hickman Mills School District. So I had the pleasure to sit in the diversity trainings, and when I tell you that they were life-changing, not just for me, but for my white coworkers as well, it really was. We were able to, in a room together, be uncomfortable together. That's okay. I believe that we are able to grow when we are uncomfortable. After the diversity trainings, we were able to go back to our schools and sit down and have just an open, honest conversation with each other. We were able to ask questions to each other that we've always wanted to know, but we felt safe and comfortable with each other after having this diversity equity training. We felt comfortable to sit down and just have an honest conversation with each other. My children have been a part of the school district for 8 years now. We moved out here 10 years ago, and we did so because we came from the city. And at that time, Kansas City School District was not accredited. And I did not want to try and get my kiddos in a charter school. And so my husband and I looked around, and we found Lee Summit. And we thought that this was going to be the best place to raise our family and to educate our children. And I must tell you that in the last couple of years, I have become very fed up and very disappointed with what my children have to experience each and every day when they walk into their schools. When I told my husband that I was going to speak tonight, he said, "Good for you, just don't cry." But I know, and I can feel myself now because I know as parents, we are all very passionate when it comes to our kids. And our children are at school more than they're with us during the week. And to hear my second grader come home, he's the only African American in his classroom, and to come home and tell me, "Mommy, I don't want to go back to school. Mommy, I'm treated differently. Mommy, I feel like my teacher does not like me because I am black," breaks my heart. And that is very difficult for me as a parent and for my husband. When my seventh grader comes home and tells me the names that she is called at school that she has never, ever been called before, it breaks my heart and it puts me in mama bear mode. And that is not what I want to be. I don't want to be in mama bear mode. But when it comes to my kiddos, I will be. I feel that it is so imperative for you, regardless of what group you choose, to find some group that can come into your district and teach not only your staff, but you as a board, what it looks like to be equitable. It's imperative that you do so because my children are being affected. People's children in this audience, they're being affected. And we moved to Lee Summit so that we could give our children the best possible education. But when you sit back and you listen to the achievement gap, is that really what we're doing? I have to ask myself each and every day, have I made the right decision to move out to Lee Summit? I'm ready to pack up and move, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use my voice for my children because that's all that I have. And so I ask you tonight to strongly consider bringing in some group that can help this district move forward. It's time for change. And as a parent, I have to do anything possible to make sure that my kiddos are safe, not just physically, but mentally. And right now, they feel like they're down here, and that's just not okay. That is not okay. So you have to do something. Thank you.
I lost my pencil. I can't find my pencil. Okay. All righty. Thank you so much, Ms. Courtney Ray. Thank you. And I believe, folks, that concludes our comments from the public. Thank you again. Your voice is important to all of us up here, and we appreciate the time. We are going to move into board reports or meetings attended. Recently, it was said that, the board just shows up once a month and attends a meeting. And I can assure you that I don't know any board member here that does that. We spend hours reading, hours doing research. We spend a lot of time in meetings and community forums And so with that said, I'm going to call upon my fellow board members to share with some of the work that they are doing. This is item 5.01. I'm going to call upon, I'm going to start down at that end, Miss Julie Doan. Share with us.
All right. In my Lee Summit Cares board realm, I just want to bring to your attention, it's the Prescription Drug Take Back Day this Saturday from 10 to 2. You can go to Lee Summit Medical Center, St. Luke's, John Knox, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, and deliver your prescription drugs there, just so you don't throw them away or put them down the toilet. So that's the best way to get rid of them, and I do it every spring. So anyway, I also wanted to share, because we always talk about our board priorities here, that I want to share Lee Summit Cares board priorities, and they have 3. And the first one is to prevent youth substance use and violence so that all youth learn and grow up in a healthy, safe environment. The second priority is catalyze community commitment to youth health, safe, and overall well-being, which starts but not ends with positive parenting. And our third board priority is invest in youth mental well-being by ensuring that institutions are places of support rather than stress for youth mental health concerns. So we have our little board priorities, and I think that is all I have. We had a CAC meeting, but I'm sure Dennis will talk about that one. So
Very good. I'm going to go right into, that was a great segue into Mr. Smith. Go ahead and tell us about what you've been doing.
November is going to be a kind of a busy month here, as they all are. On November 19th, we will, and Bob and I serve on the Tax Increment Finance Committee, and we have a meeting to look at a TIF project on November 19th. And on November 26th, we have our next Citizens Advisory Committee meeting.
Excellent. I know that you're very active, you and Julie both. Thank you for your time and commitment to the district. I'm going to go down here now to Mr. Murdoch.
So I did attend the second, set of engagement series meetings. This time I went to the one at Lee Summit High School and did the gallery walk with a lot of different patrons. And as a lot of people probably know, heard lots of different recommendations on what we should or should not do in this particular case. And then we'll have a business roundtable coming up again here soon. I was unable to attend the last one due to a conflict, but I'll be at the next one. So that's my report for today.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Fritchie?
All right. First of all, I wanted to say that I did attend the CFMP sessions on October 9th and the 11th at Lee Summit High School and MIC, and I did appreciate the opportunity, the way those were organized, to be able to talk with citizens about their preferences among those different plans that are out there, and I would just encourage everyone to just stay involved with that conversation that leading up to the final decision. Just this week, I did attend the Ensuring Equity in Education panel discussion on October 23rd at New Springs Community Church. I was very impressed with all of the discussion that happened around our equity discussion, and I appreciate those who organized that for us, and I just applaud them for doing that, and thank you. Finally, I am the representative to the Lee Summit Educational Foundation, and the foundation's 22nd annual Race for the Future was held on October the 13th, and it raised approximately $56,000 to benefit the Lee Summit Educational Foundation and the Carrie Forsey Memorial Scholarship Fund. We had nearly 950 runners and walkers registered for the 5K, and another 140 participated in the Kids Dash or registered as the Dream Partners. That's what I did. You know, when you're a Dream Partner, you don't actually have to run. You You can dream. But actually, I was there at 6:15 that morning working registration. So anyway, approximately 100 volunteers assisted with the race. So thank you for our volunteers. Race results, including times for all runners and walkers, are available at the Lee Summit Educational Foundation's website, and the results and the race photos may also be viewed at www.runsignup.com. A competition for student and staff participation, including runners, walkers, and staff volunteers, was also held on race day among Lee Summit R7 schools. Westview Elementary won the prize for the highest percentage of participation by staff and students, winning a traveling trophy and $1,000 grant from the foundation. Sunset Valley Elementary came in second, winning a traveling trophy and a $500 grant from the foundation. Some of us were able to attend a school-wide assembly at Westview, recognizing the students for a variety of awards and celebrating their success at Race for the Future. That particular assembly was very inspiring, and we give a special thanks to Mark Messner, a teacher at Westview, for donating so much time to developing leaders through the Westview Run Club. And those kids were super excited. I was there. I mean, they had leaders, they have student leaders, and they encouraged the other kids to run, and it's just a fantastic situation. Thanks to everyone across the community who participated and volunteered. Finally, the foundation recently served breakfast to the Underwood Elementary, Summit Ridge Academy, PLMS, and then tomorrow the Hazel Grove staff for their participation in the foundation's annual campaign. Just a reminder to our board members, if you haven't pledged to the annual Friends of Foundation campaign yet, we encourage you to jump on board and join us again this year. We're hoping for 100% participation. And the foundation is recognizing years of participation since the Friends of Foundation program began about 9 years ago. So thank you very much. That's my report.
Very nice. Thank you, Mrs. Fritchie. Now we will hear from Mr. White.
I had the opportunity to attend the Business Roundtable meeting. And then, let's see, we've been to, as well as all the board members, I think, have been to several of the CFMP meetings to observe. And we were able to do that. I also attended the Red Ribbon Week opening ceremony with Kim at Greenwood, which was an awesome assembly. It was just really cool. Really had a good time there with that, with Dr. Carpenter. And most recently, of course, we have our monthly finance meeting that Dennis and I attended yesterday morning, and the report for that will be coming up.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. White. Now I will move to Vice President Clark.
Thank you. I assume that we're not going to be reporting at this point on all of our MSBA engagement, but we actually had an extensive time down there. I, like the others, have attended in that second series the CFMP meetings at Lee Summit North, Lee Summit High School, and the MIC. And the only reason I didn't attend the one at West is that that same evening, wearing the hat for government relations, the chamber candidate debate was occurring at the MIC. So I attended that to have an understanding of what the various candidates' perspectives are. And I would just offer quickly that the election is less than 2 weeks, and I would encourage everyone to get out to vote between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. We have had, obviously, a number of other meetings here as a board, and in case my boss is listening, yes, I've been working.
Very good. Thank you so much. Just a few things that I will add. Again, you can see how very busy my fellow board members are and how engaged they are in the community. A couple things this last Tuesday night. I did sit on a panel of 4 people at a community engagement session, and it was enlightening. I love any kind of conversation that we can have regarding kids and erasing the achievement gap. It was enlightening, met some new people, made friends, had the opportunity to hear from some really fantastic people, and again, it was very exciting. I enjoyed it. Monday night, it's been a busy week. Monday night, I traveled down to Jeff City, Missouri, to the Teacher of the Year banquet. And Ann Braun, our 2018-19 Teacher of the Year, was recognized. She was one of 6 finalists in the regional area, And it was just an honor to be there with her. She and her husband were there. Her principal, Stacy James, was there as well. And there were 2 other teachers. And as always, R7 was represented very well. It was a beautiful event. There were 32 educators statewide that were recognized, and just a great event. Really enjoyed it. And then went down and came back and and then I did get an opportunity, like all of my fellow board members, to attend some of the CFMP processes. I've been to both of them. I really want to give an extra big shout out to Dr. Miller and to Kelly Wachel. I have to tell you, you 2 ladies rock. The way you presented it and the way you spoke with the group was very engaging, and it was exciting. And I believe your new positions and new energy into our district, Kelly, it was really felt that night. And again, I know a lot of you are involved in that process as well, but did want to give a shout out to you 2 in particular. Thank you for facilitating that. It was a really great job that night. As challenging as it might be for us to be discussing this, I'm optimistic about the work that's been done. I'm excited. I know the board spoke this evening a little bit about how excited we are to have the opportunity to sit down, take a look at some of this information, and move forward with this. So I believe that's all that I have to say here. Dr. Carpenter, is there anything you want to add to that? Anything?
No, ma'am, Madam President.
All right. So we are going to move right on into item number 6. This is items for decision. Before we do, though, I want to tell you thank you again for being with us tonight. We are usually used to about 25 people in the crowd, and it's great to see the public so involved in this. We welcome anyone that attends. So I'm going to move on again to items for decision. This is under the finance, and I've got the 3 best finance people sitting right up here with me. Who's going to take this over tonight? Dennis? It's your turn. Dennis has got it. All right, Dennis, talk to us about the finances.
All right, overview, our investments through September total approximately $78.6 million. Our revenue and expense report, expense percentages are within expected budget parameters. There is less than 1% variance between September's revenue and expenditures between fiscal year 18 and fiscal year 19. The current unaudited fund balance for September is $43.8 million, or 21.20%. Annual reports, the Finance Committee reviewed the annual reports for business services, facilities, and maintenance presented by Wesley Betts and Kyle Gorell. Facilities, Jake's Industry, the contract for Prairie View walk-in refrigerator was presented and discussed. Construction and maintenance updates were provided for in process and completed projects, which include Woodland Sewer, paving for middle school track resurfacing, BCMS intercom replacement, LSW retaining wall, and Westview roof improvements. Other things that we discussed yesterday at the meeting was B+ process review. Power School will complete an on-site comprehensive review of current processes, practices, and procedures to provide the district with recommendations for improved operational efficiency. Semi-annual contract for paper. This is a little different than what we've done in the past. The district is moving from an annual to semi-annual contract due to storage limitations at the Purchasing and Distribution Center. Kelly Services. Dr. DeSelms renegotiated the contract with Kelly Services to decrease the markup from 1.36% to 1.34% for specific job classifications. Human Resources anticipates several $1,000s in cost savings to the district. Mid-America Regional Council, MARC, Don Smith and Carrie Bain reviewed the upcoming MARC contract and described the expanded Head Start services that will be offered to children birth to age 3, in addition to the existing Head Start preschool program. And just a side note, I found that very interesting. This is a new program, and our district's kind of a leader in that, in moving that forward, and found some very interesting things there. We do have a couple actions that we need to take tonight, and with your permission, I'll take a motion.
Please do. Mm-hmm.
First of all is to approve the transfer of funds. I would move to approve the transfer of $2,218,439.04 from the general fund to the special revenue fund.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions surrounding this? All right, with none, I will go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All righty, very good. That motion carries.
One more, 6.03. I move to approve the treasurer's report and payment of the bills.
Second.
All righty, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion surrounding this item? All right, very nice. I'm ready to take a vote here. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Excellent job, gentlemen. Thank you, and thank you very much to Wesley Metz down there as well for all of your work and efforts with the Finance Committee. Very good. All right, we're going to move into item number 7. This is actually items for decision. This is our consent agenda. What we do is that we group items together so that we read them, and if board members have questions, then we can ask those and have discussion. I think I have a question here.
No,
I
was going to offer a motion.
Yes, so I would like to go ahead and get a motion for approving these.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
And second? Okay, very good. Bob White has a second. Thank you very much. All right, now I will open this up for discussion. All right. Mrs. Fritchie?
Yes, just wanted to point out, just for our listening audience out there, or viewers, on 7.04 and approving our 1819 school bus mileage report, we've already recognized our transportation department, but I just wanted to point out, and then the information that we have in front of us, there are 452 bus routes, or 1,687,355 miles traveled by our buses across the district to serve every imaginable transportation trip that we need to cover. So I just think that's a huge number, and I appreciate everything that they do for us. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Anybody else? Okay, with no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on this motion. All those approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? Excellent. The motion carried. Very good. Very nice. Okay, item number 8 is item for decisions, a consent to ratify contracts over $5,000. I do not see any on that, so we're going to move right in to number 9. These are items for decision. We're going to, for consent, and we're going to approve new contracts over $5,000. So we're going to go into, let me get this here. I'm going to need a motion for this.
I move that the board approve new contracts over $5,000 as presented in consent agenda items 9.02 through 9.13.
All right, very good. Thank you. We have a motion and a second, and it looks like I'm lighting up here. Let's just see. Mrs. Doan, I believe you have something you'd like to say.
I sent an email today, and I'm just really, I'm concerned about the communications audit. It just seems like, well, for one, we're doing a lot right now, and two, I guess I have so much faith in what Kelly's doing. I just don't know why we'd have to spend $25,000 to have a PR department come in.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that it's good to have a different eye, but you know, we already spent $9,000 on the thought exchange, and I just question why we have to spend another $25,000.
All right, Ms. Kelly, what you'll do? Would you like to come up and speak to that? Okay, I'm going to pass it then to Dr. Carpenter first. It's going to him.
Absolutely. Kelly can make her way up if there are any particular questions. But what I would offer is this communications audit has been in the work for a period of time. If you recall the quarterly updates and the board priority reports throughout last year, a part of our planning was to prepare for a communications audit during the course of this year. If you look back, the last one the districts had was 2013, and Kelly knows more about best practices than I do. But all I will offer is that we're at that point in the cycle where we're probably behind on a communications audit. So if there are any pointed particular questions, I have Kelly answer those. But folks, this is not new information.
There we go. I would offer that I think you saw the RFP process and the bids that were submitted through that process. So we did some investigation through the summer and fall to see what kind of companies would do the work or who could do the work. We noticed pretty quickly that there needed to be a little bit more robust review of who would contribute to that work. And so the RFP process was initiated in the September month, and then we're in October looking for approval for that. So, and I think you saw the outline of all of the costs for all three of the firms, and we landed kind of at the bottom of the price ranges for all three of the bids that we received.
I just wanted to voice my concern. I know it's been in the process. I've seen it for a year, but I don't know. The $25,000 after we spent, $9,000 2 months ago. I just want to voice my concern.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Mrs. Stone. We appreciate it. Are there any other comments, Mrs. Ritchie?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. I don't know if our audience is familiar with the scope of the work of the communications audit, but it's a pretty extensive list of things that will happen with this audit, including getting input from our parents, our community, and our staff, looking at our communications and how we're communicating and what, you could probably tell them a lot better than I can, Kelly, but you might just give us an overview of what that includes.
Sure. So the scope of a communications audit that we asked for in the RFP process includes that bulleted list like Ms. Ritchie's talking about. So we're looking at doing items that involve phone surveying with 400 random population samples of the district to get a broad scope of some key messaging from phone surveys. We're looking at key opinion leaders. Those are called KOLs. How do we talk to key influencers in the community to get their perception about the district and where they get their information, what the messaging coming out of the district is? And then looking at, like Ms. Ritchie said, focus groups with our staff, with our students, with our community members. We're in a very robust process right now with the CFMP, getting a lot of that feedback. But as we transition into the middle of the year and into the spring with the new communications director, we're looking at building up that war chest of research so that we can build out, communications plans for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the communications audit will come in and review what we've been doing, where we are, and where we need to go with our communications process. So as we know, communications is accelerating very quickly. We're looking at lots of mediums and channels and avenues in which we do communicate. This is a chance for us to review and then plan from that review, use recommendations, use some of the findings that they see from the insights from our community, and use them to help with our messaging and help how we get messages to our community. What are our channels? Are they working? Are they sufficient? And just gives a good baseline information for us as we move forward with our communication efforts.
And just to follow up to that, thank you, Kelly. Just to follow up to that, I think it's necessary. This has been in the works for quite a while, several years, and with a recommendation when you have a new person come on board, like Ms. Watchell is, that you do a communications audit. So this has been in the works for quite some time. Leading up to this, my only question mark on this is the timeline for conducting the audit. The timeline says late fall 2018 to early spring 2019. My only question is, while we're in the midst of heavy-duty CFMP discussions, is this something that we can put off until after the first of the year? That is my only question mark on it.
Yes, certainly. Once we award the contract, we will be flexible in that timing to really align with our CFMP process and the needs of our communications department and our community moving forward. So if we just slide that back to the spring, that we do it all in the spring, that should not be an issue at all. We're used to negotiating those timing terms with any company that we would choose for a communications audit.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ritchie. Thank you. I do have a couple more comments. Okay, I'm going to let...
That's me.
Oh, Mr. Murdoch over here.
I'm just going to make a comment to that thing about the audit. I want to see you do it in the midst of when it's the busiest time, because that's going to give us the best idea of how our communications department is performing. So I would encourage the board to think about, we don't want to put it off for it to be in the downtime. Let's take a look and see when we're in a robust time when there's tons of community conversations, tons of stuff going on here at central office. That's the best time. It's kind of like, don't run an emergency drill when you know it's coming. You know, let's see what we actually have going here. So I would just offer that.
Thank you for offering that. Vice President Clark?
Well, I want to congratulate you. You know that this is what I've done for a great portion of my career. And for those that don't know this work, it is a constant juggle. And Kelly really is never off duty, like many of the professionals that are sitting up here that serve the district. I mean, I get that. If you are if you are in a highly responsible position, a highly visible position, she's never off. So I commend you for being able to prepare an RFP, to manage through the communications around CFMP. I think the decision that was made to hire you demonstrates that you were ready to come in and take on this work, and you knew that coming in. So I think the communications audit has been particularly important because of the change of communications platforms since December of 2012. That's 6 years. You know, I was contemplating today that I can't even imagine what platforms have been created in those last 6 years, and I can't drive and check the internet at the same time. So I think it's really great that you'll have that opportunity to start that analysis. It is important that we look at the best practices and the work that a local firm. I was very impressed that this particular contract is going to the Insight folks. They are well respected in this community and beyond. They are regular speakers to Missouri School Board Association folks and all of the board members that attend there, and they do an excellent job with their presentations. And it'll be particularly instructive to see this work as it matches up with the work that they completed for us in 2012. And that not having to transition between firms, I think it's great that they came in as the lowest bid. And I know that you guys budgeted for this when we approved that budget previously. So this isn't an extraordinary expense that we're dealing with. And I just think that this looks like a real value. I've had to bid these services and pay for the services in the private sector, and I think this is a real value for the district.
All right. Thank you very much, Vice President Clark. All right. I believe that we are ready, if there's no further discussion, to go ahead and take a vote here. So I'm going to ask all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, very good. At this time, we are going to move into item number 10 on our board update packet here, items for decision. And at this time, I believe I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Carpenter.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Madam President. I'll turn it over to Dr. Delsim, who will present the personnel report.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Madam President. HR presents the personnel agenda to you and the board for your recommendation for approval this evening.
Okay. All right, very good. We're going to take a motion here. Before we can have a discussion, let's have a motion.
I move that we approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
All right, very good. We do have a energetic motion and second, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up for any questions. That was energetic motion. Mr. Murdoch.
Yeah, I know I asked this most meetings, where are we at in terms of any shortfalls in staffing, and or did we get the final enrollment numbers that we would be able to view?
Dr. Kephart.
From an elementary standpoint, we are. We do have official enrollment numbers. I'm not quite sure when they are being presented, but we would have those from our September count.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Alrighty, we are ready to take a vote. All those in favor of approving the personnel report this evening, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations, Dr. Del Sim. Great work for us, and appreciate that nice, thorough report.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Moving into item number 11, this is items of information. This is a presentation. It's 1101, business services. And before we get started with that, I believe that Dr. Carpenter would like to make a few comments.
Absolutely. We're excited to have Wesley Metz present his first business services program eval. And of course, this is relative to the last school term. But here's what I would say. Wesley Metz, he's like a silent assassin. He comes to us with a wealth of experience. And what I'm quickly learning, having spent a little over an hour with him and Dr. Miller just this week, is he's such a teacher when he's in the one-on-one environment and really, really forward thinking in terms of how we look at the budget. And he's not holding it tight. He's making sure that all of us are learning as it relates to our respective program areas. So I do want to commend Mr. Metz and thank you for your sharing and your knowledge and understanding of the budget as we move forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I wanted to start off with introducing some of my staff. They're very talented and hardworking. We've had a lot of challenges starting the beginning of this school year. Their biggest challenge, of course, is putting up with me. Sarah McMillan, she takes care of all of our benefits and the well-being program. Deanna Keller makes sure that all the staff gets paid every month, which I'm sure everybody appreciates that. And then Sharon Miller helps me with the accounting functions to make sure that the budget, helps me monitor the budget on a daily basis. These are the people that make things happen. Julie and Sharon, they help process payroll. Aaron takes care of all the health insurance issues that we have or benefits related to that. Charlie Minton takes care of all of our workman's comp issues. Jenny Flax does a wonderful job with our well-being program. She's really making it move. Samantha Skiles, Sandy Nail, and Cheryl, they take care of all of our P card programs and making sure all of our bills get paid on a daily basis. Our mission in the business office is to provide essential financial services to the district, excellent customer service. We utilize effective teaming practices. We want to support our students and staff and participate in continued growth in the district and improvement. And we want to try to integrate and enhance our technology within the business office and throughout the district. The accounting and the budget, we assist with the budget development and long-range planning and annual audit. We take care of accounting code structures. That's been a big challenge this year with DESE making a state mandate that we change every accounting code to match every other district within the state. Question? Sorry.
We're reacting to all the efforts you're putting
We're
forth.
sympathizing with you, Mr. Metz. Yeah, that was like, oh no.
We reconcile fiscal budget every year and make sure our accounts are staying in balance. We record all revenue and expenditures on a monthly basis, including journal entries and budget transfers. We make sure that we are in compliance with all federal, state, and local requirements. These are our 2017-18 final numbers. Our all funds balance last year was $289 million. I need to explain this a little bit, I feel. We did a bond refinancing last year, which represents a higher balance for all budget by about $45 million. That's not actual revenue that came in and expense that went out. So I don't want everybody to assume that we spent that much money last year. Our operating budget was $211 million. The restricted funds was $15 million. Capital budget was around 11, and then our tax rate was 5.8777, and our assessed valuation was a little over 1.9 billion. We process payments weekly in the district to pay our vendors. We processed about 7,100 checks last year. We have currently 10,760 active vendors, and we do approximately 3,825 employee reimbursements annually. Insurance benefits. We have approximately 2,700 employees and their spouses on our health insurance plans and dental plans. We have 350 retirees and COBRA insured participants. Last year we had 340 new hires that went through orientations, and I want to tell you, my staff does an excellent job with the orientations. I went through it myself. Retirement. We have approximately 1,236 employees in the peers retirement. That would be the non-certified retirement plan. We have 1,463 employees in the PSRS retirement plan, which is the teacher retirement plan. And we pay the district and employee contributions are about $2.9 million per month. And that is a mandatory retirement set by the state. We offer other benefits. We like short-term medical leave. We had a considerable amount of people last year with claims and that received medical treatment throughout the year. We also offer another voluntary retirement plan that 286 employees contribute to that annually. And then our well-being program. Jenny does a really good job with this. I'm really impressed. She's really got people in the district motivated to participate. We have well-being champions in each one of our buildings, and they do a really good job of getting everybody to get involved. And here's a list of all the things that they do. And really, if you look at the amount of participation, it's really impressive. Payroll, we paid 3,642 employees last year. Our monthly payroll runs approximately $11.2 million. And then we have it broke down also, the different pay classes. This year, this was a major achievement for us, well, I guess for the department last year and the district. We went to an online electronic contract push out. They used to say that when they printed out all the contracts, how tall was it? Yes, it was pretty tall, almost 5 foot tall. We did it all electronically, and that was a major accomplishment by our business department and HR. That was impressive. Thank you for your participation, listening to what I had to say. Do you have any questions?
Okay, do we have any questions or comments that anyone would like to ask of Mr. Metz here? Mrs. Fritchie has her light on. Let's go, Kim.
You know me, I can't let these reports go by without just saying something. I mean, we had this information prior to the meeting, so we were able to look it all over. So I don't know if any of you out there were amazed by what you saw. The scope, the sheer scope of all of the services provided by our business services department is really amazing. And consider, aren't we the largest employer in the city?
I believe so.
Okay. So I would just personally like to say a big thank you to each member of your department for everything they do for our district. I know our teachers sure appreciate them generating those paychecks and everything. Thank you. All of our staff.
Okay, Mrs. Ritchie, thank you. Mr. White.
I just wanted to ditto what Kim said, and Wes, it's awesome to work with you on a regular basis. Dennis and I get the opportunity each month to sit with Wesley and Emily and our operations team, and because most of the finances in the district are about those things, and it's just tremendous to sit in there with such wonderful, knowledgeable people who have a way of explaining things that we can understand, and I just think that's a job exceptionally well done, and just wanted to say thank you to both of you and your teams for all of the great work that's done throughout the district.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. White. Anybody else? Dr. Carpenter?
Maybe for the benefit of the board, but also for the benefit of the audience, I do want to bring a little bit of attention to the work of accounting code changes. And that started, of course, early last year, and that's a federal requirement through ESSA. And the movement into that direction is largely due in part to this notion of equity. Because what's going to start to happen now that the codes are the same across school districts, across states, they're going to do comparisons. And they'll begin looking at expenditures by school sites. And it's not going to be hard to look at Lsr7 has a school that's 69% free and reduced lunch. Here are the expenditures they make from a resource standpoint. And then here's District X that has a school that's 69% free and reduced lunch. What's the difference? Or Lsr7 has a school that's 69% free and reduced lunch and one that's 5. Why is the spending equivalent? So that's a part of the reason that ESSA put us into this space of common code, so that all of those comparisons and conversations can be had at the state and the federal level. So I just wanted to offer why that work was done, for one reason.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Mr. White?
Just to clarify for the audience, our collective grown up here between probably Dennis and Kim and I, we've all had to deal with budget. And like Dr. Carpenter as well, we've all gone through 2 different levels of finance classes for school finance. And once you figure out the accounting code, if it changes on you mid-principalship, it is horrible to try to figure out where everything went. So we're just getting to the point where we knew what the old one was. So that was kind of why the collective groan from up here.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Very well presented tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay. And now we go into number 12, which is our items of information, our written reports this month. We had 2 outstanding written reports. 12.01 was Facilities and Maintenance Annual Report, and 12.02 Facilities and Maintenance Update. Are there any comments that anyone would like to make before I speak some comments? All right, my 2 over here. Go, Kim.
Okay, 12.01, Building and Maintenance Annual Report. Like President Bologna said, these are written reports that we review each month. And I always like to read those very, very carefully. And I just would like to thank our facilities team for every work order completed, for every building cleaned, for every time you work your magic to make our facilities excellent environments for our students to learn and to achieve. The photos in the presentation that they gave us aren't worth 1,000 words. They're worth 1,000,000 words because we could see through those photos the improvements that have been made in all schools across the district. It's fantastic to see exactly what work was completed since we can't possibly visit each site ourselves. I just appreciate all that you do. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you, Mrs. Fritchie. Okay, Mr. White.
Seems like Kim and I just can't get off of this tag team here. I'm going to ditto everything that she said, but there's a special spot in my heart for our custodial staff, as my brother is a retired building manager here in the district. And for those of you who don't know what our custodial staff does, you really need to find this report online and look at it, because the things that they do now are amazing. We sanitize with water. We use 0 chemicals unless there's a huge emergency of some sort. And our buildings are as clean as they've ever been. And I just can't say enough about our custodial staff and our maintenance staff. These guys are awesome. I had a great opportunity years ago to work with those folks, and my son has worked with them, and what a great bunch of people, and they do a super job for our district, and we would be hard put to conduct school without them.
Very well said, Mr. White. Thank you so much. I'm going to go down here to Mr. Smith.
This hasn't happened yet, but in our finance meeting, now just an example of not only our maintenance people, but how they tie themselves, marry themselves to staff within our school district. There was conversation yesterday, and I hope this really comes to fruition down the road. Our industrial tech coordinator for the district, has had conversation with Kyle and others, I'm assuming, that a possibility of giving students the opportunity, just like we do at MIC, but these students could go out and their mentors would be those who are working with our air conditioning and heating, our plumbing, our electrical, our carpentry, and gain skills that they can take from this and go out and have a great life of work. And I hear all the time from our business community, they're always looking for it. It's not just here in Lee Summit, it's nationwide, trying to find these people who will go out there and come fix our air conditioner, come fix our furnace, and have those skills. And I thought that was so exciting yesterday that those conversations are starting, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes down the road. We're talking about learning spaces. You know, just think about them in a R7 truck going to work on some project at some school. I just think it's really cool. Thank you, Kyle, for planting that seed out there.
That is fantastic, and you kind of segued sort of into kind of what I wanted to just talk about really quickly. We're doing the Future Ready Learning, CFMP, and as I read through this report, I was quite excited and enthused about the work that's being done already in the district for Future Ready Learning. We are remodeling our libraries. Libraries have taken on a whole new meaning since the day that I was in a library. I just think that's great. I saw the life skills. Those areas are being reimagined, and for those students, again, Future Ready Learning, getting these students equipped for the world out there. Also, the collaboration stations. That's one of the things that got me so excited about MIC. But when you walk into buildings and you see kiddos working together on a project and collaborating, again, it just enthused me that the work that's being done here. Also, the flooring improvements. Flooring is a lot different than when I was in school. We kind of had slippery tiles that we'd slip and slide on, and depending on what the weather was, and just to see all of this happening. And then I have to say again, I know we saw a sample of it, but the Crimson Cafe and the gallery, that just gets me so excited, because we as a society have become people of gathering. We like to go to Starbucks and gather. We like to go, and we are instilling that in our children. They're seeing adults doing this, and they are wanting to be adults in their young lives, and so they're wanting a place to gather. So it is really inspiring to walk in these buildings and see these kids collaborating over a cup of coffee, because that's what that's their norm. And so I really applaud everything that's going on. Thank you so much. We're working Future Ready Learning. It's happening. It's happening in this great district of ours. So with that said, are there any other comments my fellow board members would like to make? Alrighty, this is the part where we get into roundtable discussion. This is a little bit different than board reports. This is where we just kind of share what's happening in our lives, anything that we would like to talk about. I'm going to start this time down to my left, your right, Mr. Murdoch. What's happening? What's going on?
Just a few things here. I'm going to go off my normal script. I had actually typed something out, but I'm going to go off script, which could be bad for all of you, and I really apologize. Just two quick things that I participated in. Our whole family did do Race for the Future. I got beat by my 8-year-old. I did run the Chicago Marathon the first weekend of October. I completed it. I did actually run. I finished it, so that's good. That was fun, and I did attend the Lee Summit West versus Lee Summit North boys soccer game when it was at Lee Summit North, and not to annoy any Lee Summit West fans or parents or soccer players, but wow, did North get kind of hosed on their first PK call that got put against them. So I felt really bad for them. And I'm a former high school soccer coach, so that was near and dear to my heart watching that happen. I was just like, no, that was not a PK. So anyway, but the bigger issue that I wanted to address here, and this is where I'm going off what I normally would be talking about, is the CFMP process that we have going on throughout the community. And we have the facilities master plan that's happening, and many of you obviously probably read comments and know that we're getting inundated with emails, and know that some of us are reading comments probably far too often on certain social media platforms. And I just wanted to say one thing, that there's been this notion that we need to focus on boundaries, and then we can move on to the next issue and the next issue. And I don't understand. I do understand why people would think that. I don't believe that. And I believe that if we're going to do a facilities master plan, that we have to also focus on the facilities and what resources are going to be needed within those buildings. And I firmly believe that in order for us to provide an equitable education, and I do believe in that, by the way, that all of those things have to go together. Okay, that when we're going to be talking about enrollments in buildings, when we're talking about the technology that kids are going to need, when we're talking about the resources that kids may need more help, that all of those things go together. And for us to sit back and sometimes people within the community say, let's decide boundaries and then talk about equity, I don't believe that. And I believe that those two things have to go together. Because if we only decide one, then we've left the other thing behind, and then we're already behind the 8 ball in trying to figure the next problem out. So I just hope that, and that's one of the reasons, by the way, that I asked the timeline question at the beginning of the meeting, because when these last recommendations come down, or these next recommendations come down here in late November, I hope that we're given a chance as a board, as a community, to look at them and go, are we actually addressing the needs and issues that our district has in those particular recommendations? And I just want to make sure that we're given the time to process that and make those decisions kind of all combined as one. And I just think that that becomes really, really important. So that's where I'm done.
Very nice. Thank you. Mrs. Fritchie?
Here, here. I second what you said. Nice job. I just wanted to point out, I think Jackie alluded to it earlier, that all of us attended the Missouri School Board Association conference at Tantera, that your school board is very interested in improving ourselves, and that's why we attend those conferences, so we can learn as much as we can to be an effective board for each of you all out there. We each attended sessions, and I'm just going to hit a few of the high points of the sessions that I attended. I am particularly interested, you may have heard me talk about the mentoring idea. I said that at our data session that we had here, our open session on data, but I went to Next Generation Mentoring and what that looked like, and I really appreciate that. I also attended legal issues related to disparities in student discipline, because I wanted to hear about that and find out more information about that particular issue. We had some outstanding school board presentations, one on finance by Park Hill School District, and then human and organizational capital by the Afton School District, how to conduct effective board meetings. I went to that one. The one that our board participated in, our members who are, which would be Mrs. Joan, Mrs. Bologna, and Mr. White, they led the one on governance, leadership, accountability, and teaching, and so they participated in that, and we're proud of them. Also, school board rights, responsibilities, and liabilities. What are all of those? Also, negotiating superintendent contracts. That was one I was interested in, so I wanted to go to that one. But I have to say that the most influential session that I attended was one that some of my colleagues didn't get to attend. Ryan and Jackie and I actually got to attend it. It was on the very final morning, and that was Keeping the Promise for All Students, How School Boards Can Ensure Student Success Through Educational Equity. And Janet Tilley of the Missouri School Board Association presented an excellent presentation on student equity, giving us numbers from around the state and showing us factors that influence the equity issue and what we can do as school boards to try to address that issue. So I learned quite a bit. I appreciated it very much, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Kim. Very nice. Mr. White?
I wanted to let everybody know that we had our first concert for the Lee Summit Symphony on Saturday the 13th, and it was the single largest attended concert in our history except for the Kauffman Foundation. We had 821 people come to the concert. We had an outstanding performance from Megan Smith and Isaac Cates. We had wonderful first-time music from our own, one of our own conductors, and it was just an outstanding and awesome evening. We look forward to our Christmas concert coming up in December. The other thing I want to talk about just briefly is how to get involved in the school. And coming up here at the end of December are filings for school board candidates. I would encourage anyone that thinks they have something to offer to helping the school district to move agendas forward and not backward, forward, to apply to run for school board, because that is one way that can happen. And so I just would encourage you to do that. We will have 2 positions that will come up for election in December. Or it's actually, the election is in April, but filing begins, I think it's December 14th or 21st.
I think it's the 13th, but I looked on the Jackson County website today on the election board, and they don't have the calendar out, so unofficially, I believe it's December 13th.
Yeah, so keep your eye open for that, and filings are then open for about a month. So be thinking about that. If you have an interest in helping the school district to move forward, you might want to think about becoming a school board member. Now, we'll tell you, it is a very difficult job. I'm not trying to turn anybody away, but it is way more complex than anybody thinks, and it's a heck of a lot more time than you could ever imagine, and you got to be able to read, and consume quickly. So if you're interested in the schools, that's a great place to start. And I know some folks in our audience are aware of what that's like. So again, that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much, Mr. White. I'm going to go over now to Miss Julie Doan.
I was ready for that. In the last 4 years that I've been on the school board, and I just want it to be known publicly on TV, whatever. Before I was on this board, I was a big talker. I talked and talked and talked. But after the last 4 years, I have become a listener. So please know that I'm listening. I'm reading your emails. I don't think there's one person that doesn't want to help every single child. There's not one of us up here that's not like that. We need to find what's going to work for all of us. But I just want you to know that I'm listening and that I'm ready to have that tough conversation. So, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Julie. We're going to go on to Mr. Smith.
Much of what I was going to say has been said tonight. I agree entirely with Julie over here and Ryan down there. Very, very well spoken. Had the opportunity to be in this community all my life. We've been through many changes over the years. Changes are tough sometimes. Boundaries are tough. But of all the times that we've gone through this over the years to plan, I don't think I've ever seen a time where more information opportunities has been provided through the CMF process. And in behalf of all those who are out here doing that several times over the last 3 months and will continue on, appreciate it. The information that you're providing back to us is great, and we're going to work very hard to make this all happen.
Yep, you betcha.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, Vice President Clark.
Thank you. Just to finish up with what we accomplished, I took stock, and I attended 9 sessions at the MSBA meeting. I do meetings all week, and to do them all Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's a long time. And when Mr. White talks about the burdens of serving on the school board, it's very enlightening as a person who has not had a career in education, has had exposure at the collegiate level as an adjunct, but it was a very good opportunity and time well spent, and enjoy serving as a delegate on behalf of our district. And I will add to what Ms. Fritchie referred to with the equity session on Sunday morning. I think it's important for the audience to understand that Ms. Barks did an excellent job of presenting data that is nationwide in scope, and it's not just data from Missouri. And all of that, that presentation, I think, is accessible on the internet. And I would encourage anyone who has an interest in our work on equity that they take time to review that information. It was really a great presentation, and I congratulate them for having done that work. In the community, I've been able, I'm just going to disclose, you can blame it on me. I went to a Lee Summit High School football game and a Lee Summit North High School game on the same night. I did half at my alma mater and half at North, and both teams lost that night. I am so sorry, Dr. Meisenheimer. I am not going near any playoff game. I promise. I promise. And you know, when I'm down in Columbia, they ask me if I'm going in at halftime to gin up the troops. I am not going anywhere near a locker room in our school district, so you can rest assured on that. We will not jinx anybody in the playoffs. I did have the opportunity. I'm so glad you're here tonight. I attended the Lee Summit North Swim and Dive Team Senior Day, and that was really great. It's a huge group graduating. And that may affect next year's team, but we'll see that. Yes. Okay. So I apparently don't have a swim and dive jinx. And of course, you know, everybody's talking about the Lee Summit Education Foundation walk, and I've already stated I'm not a runner, and let's just say I'm not walking right now, but I definitely drew to the Dreamer program because I was down watching Lee Summit High School graduate Drew Locke at Alabama. I had to see that game and that big stage, and we have held those guys to the fewest points the fewest points in their season. So our guy Drew looks great, and we're really proud of him. I always talk about Drew. I apologize. I don't know what I'm going to do next year. One of the things that has popped up here, and many of you all may be aware of it, there is a proposal that the Lee Summit Planning and Zoning Commission was addressing at 5 p.m. tonight. And I want to remind everybody, we are separate government entities, and while some of us are the TIF designees, that's not a TIF project, so we have not been engaged in it. We have had some conversation with some of the neighbors, and we are factoring that into the boundary process, so I want everybody to understand that. I haven't heard what the outcome is over there, or if there was a decision tonight in planning and zoning. I want to remind everybody we have a demographer, and Dr. Carpenter, when we summarize the meeting here tonight on your behalf, you might want to address any of that information. But we are cognizant of the development. We don't get a vote in that. We don't get a vote in it at planning and zoning, and we don't get a vote in that when it goes to full council if it should go. So I just want to mention that tonight because others who may not be here tonight because of that meeting will watch us later. I know we are must-see TV.
Yes. Top rated.
And I know some of the folks here mentioned Lee Summit Cares earlier. I want to remind everybody the Holly Festival's coming up the second weekend of November. That's the 9th. And also the first weekend of November, the Lee Summit West debate team is hosting a debate tournament, and I've already signed up to judge, so I encourage, that's great. So thanks for everybody doing that. If you're watching and listening, the kids need your help. So please get engaged. And then finally, I've been doing a lot of thinking the last couple months. We've got a lot of important work, and I like to share some thoughts that are unifying in nature in terms of the community. And so if you guys will indulge me just a little bit, and I try to speak quickly, but I do believe that our school board should be about our motto, which is preparing each, which I interchangeably use, all students for success in life. And during the past 19 months, I have really, truly been enlightened. And like so many of our parents, I get in the car choosing to live here in Lee Summit and fight my way out of town in frustrating rush hour traffic and then fight my way back at night. I've been doing that commute for 29 years and have many years left to go to continue that commute. And when we leave this community each day, we assume that each of those kids, all kids, that we've entrusted these folks in this room, throughout our district, our leaders, to run things here, and they're doing so in the best interests of all the children that the working families of this community leave with them. And what I've learned in those 19 months is that we are fortunate to have many children learn, grow, and thrive in our school district. What I was disappointed to learn is that we have a growing disparity in outcomes for children in our community, and that this has gone unabated. And without a plan in place, the disparity likely will grow significantly. Through all of the professional development that we've all talked about here tonight, the conferences, meetings, we learn about the emerging issues and trends that affect education. And this means we are learning the same things as the other 4 of the 5 big district leaders here in our community, what they're learning. The same things as the big 5 folks over in the east side of the state, over in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area, what they're learning. And my colleagues here, I don't ask them what they do, but I'm guessing they may do some of the same things I do, which is talk to our peers across the state line over in Shawnee Mission, where 10 to 15 years ago, students spoke 34 different languages. I understand in Olathe, it's now about 83. I talked to the Blue Valley board members. I talked to Olathe board members. And why do I do that? It's so I can understand how Lee Summit, the district of which 5 of us are alums, and all 7 of which want to see be a leader in Missouri, this region, and our nation, how we measure up. And sometimes those conversations are painful. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. I don't know if you're still here or not. Okay, I'm short. I can't see anybody back there. Thank you for being here and speaking of your experience tonight, as well as the other concerned parents. As board members, it's disheartening to read and hear some of the things we are hearing among our patrons. It is my duty to assure anyone taking the time to either listen to this entire meeting in person, for those of you who have endured it, or on YouTube, or to fast forward to this portion of the meeting, that while the 7 of us board members may have very different views and approaches to the issues before the board, we do our homework. We ask questions to understand policy and fiscal decision items. We come prepared for discussion, and we are deliberate and work toward consensus. Never mistake our unity or disunity for a lack of engagement in the issues before this board that affect the success of every or all children in this district. The difference between school board governance and a legislative body, if you can stand a little governance lesson here, is that we have one key responsibility, which was mentioned earlier, educating children. And in order to do this, we set the direction for the school district, which includes hiring a superintendent. Now, the 4 of us up here weren't engaged in the hiring process. But in other words, we are right now charting the course for the district, and then the superintendent steers the ship. Last year and this year, the board set the course by adopting 3 priorities. And the top priority is academic achievement. We publicize them extensively. Numerous community leaders and a wide variety of groups have met with district leadership to understand those goals. All of us up here that are on the board are all volunteers who just happen to serve in public office. Thank you to the audience here tonight who were so thoughtful in expressing yourselves this evening.
While it may be the fashion currently to badger elected officials or appointed officials, it is our hope that the same lack of decorum does not permeate Lee Summit. I believe that we want to spend more time working on student achievement. Our district offers so many opportunities for proactive and positive engagement on helping all students achieve. It would be a blessing to see so many more here in Lee Summit join the effort to fulfill our mission, preparing each or all students for success in life. That's all I have tonight.
Very nice, Jackie. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Carpenter, anything you would like to add?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, we briefly mentioned the football teams. I don't have a lot of history, but I know that we have 3 teams in the playoffs, and we're hosting 2 home football games tomorrow night. Jackie Clark, stay away, please. And because we're going to try and bring some hardware home here to the community, so I'm excited about that. Also, as it relates to some of the commentary we've heard from our community that I think is very, very appropriate, I do want to offer that the administration is continuing to take steps. Sunday, several of us, members of the executive team and a few other select administrators, are going to spend the day Monday. We'll drive over Sunday night with the Parkway School District. And we're going to have a joint cabinet meeting with that team. What's unique about Parkway and why are we going? Parkway has been in the business of systemic equity and social justice transformation for all students for over a decade, right here in Missouri. And they have the results to boot. You can look at programming, how they've increased. There's a notion out there that when you talk about equity, you're watering down. Such a fallacy. They have the data that supports that they've increased rigor into certain programming and certain award programs. And even with that increase, more minority students, more kids from poverty are reaching the bar. They've been noted by MSBA. Some of you have sat through their presentations. But Keith Marty, superintendent, and I, who I've become a fan in my 6 years here in the state, we've talked about this, and we talked about this before I came over to Lee Summit when I was in my former district. And we wanted to have some dialogue around this notion of equity in all students. And this month, the American School Board's Journal, not a one-page article somewhere in the magazine, but the Parkway schools, they're the cover story. They're the cover story of the National American School Board Journal. And the entire story is relative to their work around equity, all students, social justice, and the positive results they have gotten. Why Parkway, in addition to their work? Very, very similar to Lee Summit. If you look at the demographics, it's almost a match. The only thing that's not a match is their Caucasian population is a little bit lower, and that's taken by an Asian population that's about 8% higher. Other than that, it's almost a match. 17,382 students, as I recall. So we're going to learn with them jointly. My plan is to come back and even spend some time that afternoon there in Chesterfield, Missouri with the team, starting to develop hard action steps that I could only ask our board and community to get behind us and support. So that's super important to me. We think about CFMP and we're thinking about long-range planning, very, very important. I appreciate all the comments relative to we don't get to do this work one thing at a time. That might be more comfortable doing it one thing at a time, but we're in an environment of exponential change. I was with my superintendent colleagues, 17 from across the country in San Diego a couple of weeks ago. And that's the dialogue. Top 6 issues facing superintendents. Number 3, achievement gap. Number 5, equity. Innovation, future ready is in that top 6. Folks, we're doing all the right things. We just have to have the courage to do the work on behalf of young people. And so I'm excited about that opportunity. And when I look at the crew that I get to do this work with each day in terms of the leadership team, I'm going to speak for them. They all come talk to me. They're ready. You all heard from a principal today. stepping out of his comfort zone to tell you he's ready. And shame on us if we lead the way on facilities and we lead the way on finances, but we don't lead the way in terms of our core business. So it's our opportunity. It's our challenge, and we get to do it. This is not new work. In July of 1966, I'm reading. University of Chicago sociologist James Coleman finished the Equality of Educational Opportunity Report, what became known as the Coleman Report. And through that Coleman Report, here's what they said, that schools were generally ineffective in breaking the poverty cycle. This was said in 1966. And they commissioned a Harvard professor, Dr. Ron Edmonds, who became known as the father of the effective schools movement. And he went all around looking at those characteristics of schools that were breaking the cycle of poverty. And this day, poverty is on the table. We've learned since 1966 that when you intersect race, it's just as important, if not more important than poverty when you look at the data. But the same principles apply. So Edmonds did the work, and they came back and they talked about the importance of a clear and focused mission, safe and orderly school, high expectations for all students. I want to stop there for a minute because I had a parent tell a story to me the other night that's still resonating with me. And my wife and I, both educators, we don't talk a lot of school, but I felt compelled to tell her this story as I think about my young folks in our school district. But this is this parent's perspective. He said he was at parent conferences with his high schooler, and his child was going into the next teacher's class with a B, and the child in front of him had a B. And so he was listening as he was waiting at the door, and it just happened to be a child of a different race than his, but he listened, and he said he heard teachers saying, your child has a B, and here are the steps that you need to take because we're going to get her to an A. Expectations. He said he walked in behind her with that same B and his kid of color, and the teacher never engaged in that dialogue with him. Told him his child was doing okay. Said teacher told him his child was doing okay. And he was listening to the same B in front of him. So I don't know what all that means. There's some conversations that are taking on a life of their own in the community about what all that means. And we probably need to have that conversation too. I think we all agree, but it means something. But Ron Edmonds identified all these things: frequent monitoring of student progress, parents' understanding of and support for basic mission, parental participation in school, all those things. But he concluded the report in the mid-70s. And I just want to remind us as I close and I talk about what Edmonds said in the 70s, because it still resonates with me today. He said, we can, conclusion of the report, we can, whenever and wherever we choose, successfully teach all children whose schooling is of interest to us. We can, whenever and wherever we choose, successfully teach all children whose schooling is of interest to us. We already know more than we need to know to do this. Whether we do it or not must finally depend upon how we feel about the fact we have not done it so far. Whether we do it or not depends on how we feel about the fact that we have not done it so far. So that's our work. That's our challenge. Principal Meisenheimer, who sat through the whole meeting, he and I have had similar discussions. And he's accelerating some work with his leadership team. And I said it during the work session, folks, strong district teams and strong governance teams don't allow their troops in the field to have to feel like they need to be ahead of them in the work. Strong leaders support that work and chart the course for that work. Meisenheimer, we're coming. You're doing some work at North, we're coming. That's all I have.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. Fellow board members, it's a privilege to serve with you. I don't have a profound speech for you tonight. Just a couple things I'd like to share. As your board president, I did attend a board president workshop at MSBA, and much of it was centered around superintendent contracts. So felt really got some good information. What I most enjoyed was the opportunity to spend some time with this board outside of the district. It was a really great time. It's theater time in Lee Summit. All 3 high schools are producing 3 great shows. Lee Summit West opens Saturday, November 3rd, I believe, with Mamma Mia. Lee Summit North, I believe, is opening also next weekend. I think if that's correct, Dr. Meisenheimer. They're doing The Addams Family. And then the following weekend, Lee Summit High School is producing Footloose, a show that I've spent quite a bit of time on doing some choreography for. So theater is alive and well in Lee Summit. On a final note, I will be short and sweet. I'm going into my 7th year serving on this board. I've seen a lot of great stuff going on by our staff. I'm a tried and true Lee Summit resident, lived here my entire life. 4 generations currently live here. The work is hard, but I want to tell you, and you've heard it from your board, is that I also read every email. I return almost every email. I take phone calls. I set up meetings. I do talk and listen. Listen and talk, more importantly. So we've got some challenges ahead of us, but I will tell you, we will hit them head on with enthusiasm, with determination, and hopefully we are all walking hand in hand, side by side, as we move into the future in learning and in the boundary studies, and also building in this whole picture. We've got to get that achievement gap. We've got to work on that, and I'm enthused about the board that I get to serve with. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to serve as your president. And I also thank Linda Isbert for all of her untiring, and she's just amazing down there. So, and also I like to embarrass him. Our attorney sits here at every meeting as well. So that's Joe Hatley. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. This was a really great board meeting. Thank you so much. And at 9:41 p.m., this meeting is adjourned.